It's too easy. That's what you might think when you hear about Donnie Hammond's golf career. After all, here's a guy who only won 2 PGA Tour events and is often called a journeyman. But what if I told you that this so-called journeyman produced some of the most dominant performances in professional golf history? What if his story isn't about mediocrity, but about a player who could make the game look ridiculously easy when he was on his game? Let me take you back to 1982, when a young Donnie Hammond walked onto the TPC Sawgrass for the PGA Tour qualifying tournament. This wasn't just any Q school. This was the tournament that would change everything. Hammond had just won the Florida Open and was feeling confident. But what happened next was beyond anyone's wildest expectations. Hammond didn't just qualify for the PGA Tour, he obliterated the field. His victory margin? A record-shattering 14 strokes. To put that in perspective, Ben Crenshaw held the previous record at 12 strokes, and that had stood for 9 years. Hammond didn't just break the record, he smashed it. The dominance started early. In the second round, Hammond shot a 66 that tied the course record at the newly built TPC Sawgrass. The next day, he followed up with a 68, building a commanding 6-shot lead. But the tournament was effectively over in the fourth round when Hammond fired a course record 65. With 36 holes still to play, he had a staggering 14-stroke lead. Here's what makes this performance even more impressive. In the final 2 rounds, Hammond admitted he didn't have his best stuff. He shot a 74 and a 75. Yet even with this dip in form, he actually increased his lead to 15 strokes at one point. He still finished 14 strokes ahead of second-place finisher David Peoples. This wasn't luck. This was mental toughness at its finest. Hammond showed he could manage pressure and maintain a massive lead even when his ball striking wasn't perfect. The Q School victory wasn't just a hot streak, it was proof of his mental strength, a quality that would define his entire career. This single performance created expectations that were almost impossible to meet. Before Hammond had even played a full season on the PGA Tour, he had established himself as a player with explosive, world-beating potential. The victory demonstrated a clear link between his confidence and his ability to separate himself from the competition under pressure. 3 years later, Hammond captured his first PGA Tour victory at the Bob Hope Chrysler Classic in 1986. But it was his second and final tour win at the 1989 Texas Open that truly showcased his ability to dominate when everything clicked. Playing at Oak Hills, Hammond was in complete control from start to finish. He posted scores of 65, 64, 65, and 64 for a final total of 258. That's 22 strokes under par. His final round 64 included an eagle on the par 4 10th hole. When the dust settled, Hammond had defeated Paul Azinger by 7 strokes. But here's the kicker. Hammond's final score of 258 was just 1 stroke away from the tour's all-time scoring record at that time. This wasn't a squeaker. This wasn't a lucky break. This was pure dominance that placed him among the elite scoring performances in professional golf history. The pattern was clear. When Hammond found his form, he didn't just win, he demolished the competition. His victories weren't narrow escapes or playoff wins. They were overwhelming displays of superiority that left no doubt about the outcome. This sets him apart from typical journeymen who might sneak out one victory and never contend again. The Texas Open win proved something important. Coming 3 years after his first tour victory, it showed that the Bob Hope Classic wasn't a fluke. Hammond was a legitimate professional with repeatable success. He had the talent to close out tournaments in convincing fashion. The consistency of these overwhelming victories revealed a recurring theme throughout Hammond's career. His most significant wins weren't close calls or lucky breaks. They were methodical dismantling of the field that suggested exceptional potential when he found his rhythm. But Hammond's story goes deeper than just 2 dominant wins. While his career might seem limited by those 2 victories, his performance in major championships tells a completely different story. This is where the journeyman label falls apart completely. Hammond played in 28 major championships during his career. He made the cut in 21 of them. That's a 75% success rate under the most demanding conditions in golf. Think about that for a moment. 3 out of every 4 times he teed it up in a major, he was good enough to play the weekend. His best major performance came at the Open Championship, where he tied for 5th place in 1992. This performance included a blistering second-round 65 that put him right in contention with the world's best players. He also finished tied for 8th at the Open in 1990, proving his game was perfectly suited for links golf. At the Masters tournament, Hammond was flawless. He made the cut in all 4 of his appearances at Augusta National. That's a perfect record at golf's most prestigious event. His best finish was a tie for 11th in 1986, a solid result that showed he belonged on that stage. The PGA Championship was another strong venue for Hammond. He made the cut in 8 of his 9 appearances, with his best results being ties for 11th in 1986 and 16th in 1984. At the U.S. Open, his best finish was a tie for 23rd in 1992. These numbers paint a picture of consistency that directly contradicts the journeyman narrative. Hammond wasn't a player who folded under pressure. He was a silent contender who consistently consistently positioned himself for success on golf's biggest stages. He rarely missed cuts and often found himself in respectable positions on Sunday. What makes this even more impressive is the timing. His two best major finishes came in the early 1990s, a period when he wasn't winning on the PGA Tour. This suggests his reliable, high-floor performance was actually at its peak even as his explosive dominance became less frequent. The major championship record provides a direct counter to the journeyman label. While Hammond never won a major, his high cut-making rate demonstrates professional competence that goes beyond fleeting success. He consistently gave himself chances to contend, even when victory proved elusive. Hammond's career spanned much longer than most people realize. He was a standout college golfer at Jacksonville University, where he won 4 letters and captured the Sun Belt Conference individual title as a senior. He's a charter member of the Jacksonville University Sports Hall of Fame. After turning professional in 1979 and grinding through the mini-tours, Hammond made his mark with that historic Q School victory in 1982. His PGA Tour career ran from 1983 to 1998, during which he accumulated 40 top 10 finishes and reached a career-high world ranking of 55th in 1990. But Hammond wasn't done when his PGA Tour days ended. He showed remarkable resilience by continuing to compete and win. On the Buy.com Tour, now known as the Korn Ferry Tour, he secured another victory at the Lakeland Classic in 2000. When he turned 50 in 2007, he transitioned to the Champions Tour, extending his professional career into a third decade. This longevity reveals a competitor who constantly adapted to the changing landscape of professional golf. Hammond's career represents something many people can relate to. It's not the story of a superstar who dominated from day one. It's the story of a professional who maximized his talents, showed up consistently, and achieved success through perseverance and adaptability. Today, Hammond has successfully transitioned into real estate in the Orlando, Florida area. His focus on golf community and lifestyle properties is a natural extension of his career, giving him a unique niche in the market. This transition from professional athlete to entrepreneur shows how specialized skills can be leveraged for a successful second career. Hammond's post-golf success provides a powerful case study in adaptability. His career path represents a more realistic narrative than the stories of golf's top-earning superstars. It serves as a model for how professional athletes can successfully transition into new fields after their playing days end. Hammond's story challenges everything we think we know about success in professional golf. Yes, he only won 2 PGA Tour events, but those wins were historic performances that showcased a level of dominance few players ever achieve. His record-setting 14-stroke Q School victory and his commanding 7-stroke Texas Open win weren't flukes. They were powerful statements of his potential. Beyond those explosive moments, his major championship record reveals a player who consistently performed at the highest level. His 75% cut-making rate in majors, including a perfect record at the Masters, demonstrates professional competence that goes far beyond typical journeyman status. Donnie Hammond's legacy isn't about the number of wins. It's about the quality of those wins and his sustained excellence over nearly 3 decades. His career proves that success in professional golf comes in many forms. Sometimes it's about explosive brilliance that makes the game look too easy. Sometimes it's about quiet consistency that keeps you competitive year after year. Hammond mastered both. His flashes of brilliance were truly elite, his baseline competence was exceptional, and his career demonstrates the quiet resolve that defines successful professionals in any sport.